When I was 15, I robbed my high school concession stand. Warning, some audiences may find this content disturbing. View at your own discretion. Welcome to the House of Reddit. Today, we share some recent r/confessions posted on Reddit. When I was 15, I robbed my high school concession stand. This story goes back many years. I was 15 and it was summertime. I was sitting on my front porch listening to music when someone I used to hang out with was walking down my street seemingly excited, so I asked what he was doing, and after I did he said the school is giving away free candy. Being an extremely naive adolescent, of course I believed him. It sounded too good to be true. Why would the high school ever do that? I thought. So I grab a backpack and walk down the road with him towards the other side of town where the school was located. When we arrive, something doesn't seem right to me. There's nobody there at all. It's a ghost town. The big slide door for the front of the concession stand was down and the side door was locked, at least until we got closer. I noticed the lock on the slide door had been busted off, and as I notice, the guy grabs the handle and pulls it up. He then dives over the counter inside the stand, and tells me to get in. Now, being extremely stupid, I follow. Now we're standing in pitch black because the door was closed. We eventually found a light after scrambling around, and what I seen were dozens of boxes of Reese's peanut butter cups, dozens of boxes of Mand MS, loads of beef jerky, drinks and other crap. So here's where I'm really not proud. We start ripping box after box of candy and completely stuffing my backpack completely full with everything we got our hands on. It weighed 60 pounds by the time we were done. I had a mile walk back home, and after I got back and counted how much candy I took, there were about 122 packs of Reese's, 100 packs of M's and a couple drinks. I felt so horrible I immediately gave every single thing I took to my sister because I didn't want to eat any of it. I got extremely paranoid and guilt-ridden and I wanted to take it back, but I knew I would get caught if I did. The candy lasted for some good time. My sister would always give candy to her stoned friends. This is my confession. I fought a girl from my school. Story behind why: since 7th grade I started public school and Jess instantly befriended me, aka treated me like a pet. I tried to help her by telling her that her BF and my friend, Chris, admitted to only liking her for her bod and told her not to tell him I snitched, and she immediately did. I ended up cutting. I will never forgive myself for being so foolish, and she didn't even care. Turns out that's what she wanted. She made a false assault allegation against a different guy, was mean to me from 7th grade till now, made fun of me for crying in class after my mom had been in the hospital, and she's just mean to most people in general. I can't even count all the awful things she's done. Sophomore year just started, and after she made fun of me on the first day I warned her I wouldn't take her BS anymore. I finally talked back, and when I did she seemed shocked, but she still didn't stop. She started giving me vouch threats and stares like she wanted to fight. I asked my mom if I should stand my ground or ignore her. She said that I should turn the other cheek, and my brother said it wouldn't be ladylike of me / guys aren't into girls that act catty and dramatic. One day, we're in the locker room and she mutters "stupid fucking bitch." I ask WTF, she just said, to which she replies, "It's just a joke, calm down." I was done at that point. I'd been nice, I ignored her, I told a teacher, I even apologized if I had ever done anything wrong. So, I overreacted and said I'm fucking done. I'm done with your shit. If we have a fucking issue, tell me now, because it seems you can't learn how to shut the fuck up. So, she says yes we do have an issue, and I was so heated I said something along the lines of, well then why don't you just fucking hit me, kick me, shove me, anything if you want to fight so bad. I don't know who everyone else in the locker room was making fun of, but they all just laughed and gasped sarcastically, probably me despite most people disliking Jess. So, she slapped me and I was in shock for a second. She actually did it, I don't know why, but I didn't think she would. I thought she'd shut up and leave me alone. I slap her back, Jess grabs my hair, hits me, and I punch her in her face. She kept holding and pulling my hair, yanking it around, so I hit a few more times until I realized what the hell she's even saying. She was begging me to stop but still wouldn't let go, and she wasn't angry, she was crying. I instantly felt awful, and I still do. I stopped and Jess just covered her face and left. I think I saw a tiny bit of blood on her face, but I'm not sure. The other girls in the locker room laughed at her, but I feel so bad. My friends and the other girls say I did the right thing, but I feel like shit. This happened on a Friday, so I won't be surprised if I happen to get called to the office Monday. However, if I do, I deserve an ISS or suspension. I wonder if anyone told a staff member or if maybe Jess texted the anonymous bullying thing. I don't know if I should apologize or leave her alone. I've been contemplating sending her a text for a while now. I've never had a real physical fight before, and usually I would look for a peaceful way out, but I think I just told myself there was no other way to make her stop in an attempt to get rid of my guilt. I feel so bad, as I should, of course. I faked a panic attack in school, and it ended up me taken out of public school. As you can see by my username, I didn't think a sub like this existed till just now. And now am I finally having the courage to say what I did. This is going to be a long story to explain how it ended up to what the title says. Growing up, I hated going to school. I don't fully know why, but it just kept getting worse for me. There would be days to nearly weeks that I wouldn't be in school because I fought tooth and nail to try to find an excuse or lie my way out of not going. By the time I was 11 years old, I had to go to court because I missed collectively almost over 6 months of school days through the course of years. And I really stressed out my mom because of it all. She was divorced and is raising me and my 3 other brothers, and what I did just wasn't helping. My mom had been dealing with a lot of anxiety from all the stress at this point. But the day came when custody action was threatened. She had a panic attack when reading that mail. She had it right in the living room in front of everyone. That was one of the most awful days for me and her both. I felt horrible, and I never seen her cry like that before. By the time I was 12, middle school life, if my mom managed to force me to get to school, was going to spec. Ed. For attendance, work on the things I missed, and 15-minute break time before I went to class. I also went to spec. Ed. Because I am on the spectrum and it was to help me deal with school in the mornings. There was one teacher there who was in charge of spec. Ed. 2. She was one of the most understanding and patient people I ever had the opportunity to be with in school. She knew that I had to stick to a schedule in the mornings, or I would have a bad day if I didn't have the 15-minute break time on the school iPads before going. It was stuff like that. But one day, she wasn't there. I don't remember why. A substitute filled in for her, and this substitute had me do the usual attendance and do some work, but he then told me to get to class without letting me get the 15-minute iPad time. I tried to explain as best I could that I always got to go on the iPads before class, but this sub wasn't having it. He was getting frustrated quickly while I was beginning to freak out. It ended up with me shutting down, which is a term my mom uses when something makes me too stressed or overwhelmed, and I would hide in the sweatshirt I was wearing and not speak or listen to anyone. I was sitting on a chair when I had shut down, and the substitute kept ordering me to get to class or else. After a few minutes, he called in the school peers to help get me to class. The peers did all they could, but then one of them suggested they drag the chair I was in to class in hopes that I would get out of the chair and get to class myself. Their plan ended up backfiring as I was sobbing in pure embarrassment and stress as the metal legs of the chair screeched across the school hallway for almost 5 minutes. I was too overwhelmed and stubborn, so I never got out of that chair once during that whole time. By the time we got to class, it was halfway into math and everyone was quietly working, but they heard the sound of screeching and saw as I was being dragged on a chair, hysterically crying. The entire time in that classroom, I couldn't stop crying. And everything that occurred was the worst thing that could have happened to me so far. But it only got worse after math ended and we had to get to social studies. The peers asked me if I was going to get off the chair now, but I was still in shutdown mode, so I didn't talk. I couldn't even consider getting up. They thought all right and grabbed the chair again and dragged it with me in tow. Then I had to go through the same thing again for another couple dozen minutes. After social studies was over, they tried to force me off the chair at this point and usher me to class. I wasn't cooperating still, so they threatened to call the school officer. They threatened it several times, until they actually did and took me back to spec. Ed. I was absolutely terrified. And then they just decided to get me off the chair once and for all instead of dragging me another 5 minutes. It took them a minute, but I was standing and they quickly took me back to spec. Ed. When we got there, the school officer was only a couple minutes away. And I retreated to the far corner of the room and was crying hysterically again. When the officer arrived, she asked what was going on, and the substitute/staff must have told her an extremely skimmed version of what happened, because when she approached me, she gave me a ultimatum in a "I mean it" punk voice. It was either I go to class right now or I go to one of the rooms at the school office and be punished. Those were her words, and they scared me shitless. But I couldn't dare to think about facing all my classmates after what just happened, so I reluctantly chose the office room. I was so scared, and I don't think I could have ever been more afraid in my life. She then grabbed my wrist and pulled me forcefully to the office out of spec. Ed. She held on so tight that it hurt. I was starting to cry again and tried to tell her to slow down and loosen her grip and that she was scaring me, but I was sobbing too much to talk. When we reached the office, she sat me down in a chair and got really close to my face and said, "If you don't stop crying, I'll make you stop crying." I tried to quiet down immediately after that. She left the room a minute later, and I processed what just happened. Then at this point, I remembered my mom having a panic attack that one day. I looked around and saw a camera at the top corner of the room I was in, and made my plan. I then started to pretend I couldn't breathe, and I banged on the doors like I was in danger. It took a minute for someone to walk up to the door and they saw me gasping for air. When they walked in, I told them that I think I'm having a panic attack. I was taken to the school nurse who was 2 doors down, and she did a run on my oxygen levels really quick and said that they were normal and that I was fine. I was quickly put back in the room and I was crying again because the plan didn't work and I just wanted to get out of there. Then the day finally ended and my mom picked me and my brother up from school. She saw the look on my face and the fresh tears. She asked what was wrong and I told her that I had a panic attack in school. My brother could back up that a school officer was called on me since he was actually in spec. Ed. When it happened, I already forgotten something at the school anyways, but she turned around and drove back to the school for very different reasons. The events that followed after that day was a lot. My mom was fucking pissed, and I refused to go back to school every day after it happened. I wouldn't budge and she understood why I did not want to go. My mom wanted to sue the school and made a Facebook group called Justice for Op. I was taken out of the school and placed in many other replacement schools. I went to a therapy/learning facility school in town which was mainly for troublemakers and people dealing with mental issues too severe for them to go to school with. When I went there for over a year or two, my diagnosis was that I had really bad anxiety and PTSD from what happened. And I feel like the diagnosis is wrong since I lied about my panic attack, but I never lied about what I was feeling and how I would be most days. I wish I never faked it. I don't know what's real or fake, and I don't know if I am just lying nowadays. I regret what I did. I don't think I will ever be able to tell the truth to my mom or anyone I know for that matter. I'm now 17, about to be 18 in a couple of months, and I've been carrying this burden of a lie ever since that day. I am ashamed and I'm not sure if I'll ever be able to fully forgive myself. If you enjoy this video, please be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. If you have any suggestions for future videos, please let us know in the comments below. Turn on the notifications to know when we post new videos. Thank you for coming to the House of Reddit.